All right, so this is solidaritynetwork.org. I am Lonnie Douglas. I am doing an interview today with, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Adrienne Mitchell, and I'm a faculty member at Lane Community College.
Nice. What do you teach at Lane?
I teach basic writing.
Oh, basic writing. My brother might have taken a class from you. He took a writing class a couple of years back and such. It wouldn't shock me if you were the the instructor that he had, but anyway, I digress. So so Adrienne, we're here today kind of to talk about the situation going on at Lane Community College with the union, the bargaining, also the board of directors. Can you first let people know what LCCEA is?
Sure. Yeah, we're Lane Community College Education Association. So we're the union that represents all of the faculty, the part-time faculty and full-time faculty at LCC.
Sweet, sweet. And I know a lot of people so don't know like the relationship between like LCCEA and maybe other unions, but you guys are you guys under AFT or a part
We're
of it?
under OEA, Oregon
Oh,
Education
OEA.
Association and National Education Association.
Yep.
And within LCCEA, we're also part of HELU, which is Higher Education Labor United. It's a newer organization, just kind of starting out in the first few years of labor unions throughout higher ed nationwide, really trying to build a wall-to-wall, coast-to-coast labor movement in higher ed.
Sweet, sweet. Yeah, I know. Do you guys under OEA, do you guys like collaborate or work at all with like the K through 12 unions? Or is it just higher ed?
Yeah, we definitely work with the K-12 unions. We're within OEA, it's basically about like 90% K-12 and then maybe about 10% community college locals. And these include locals that have faculty, part-time faculty, as well as classified workers at community colleges throughout the state.
For people, can you kind of clarify for anybody who might not know the difference between like the educator side of the unions and what do you mean when you say classified workers?
Yeah, sure. So, faculty would include any instructor at a community college, as well as positions like counselors and librarians. We also have at LCC as part of our union athletic coaches, the athletic trainer, instructional designers, and then classified. Professionals within community colleges generally are a wide range of different jobs. So they can include IT professionals, they can include departmental administrative coordinators, a lot of people who are working in trades within the colleges. Like we have a locksmith, for example, at our college who's part of the classified union and things like that.
So if you get locked out of your car, you can call them up and be like, "Hey, I locked my keys in my car."
For that one, we have to call public safety, but
Okay, all right,
a
all right.
locksmith could help us with the doors.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Well, no, that's yeah, it's good info. I know a lot of people they kind of get, especially when we're dealing with like the unions with the schools and the colleges, they don't understand like the difference between classified staff and the teachers or academic type uh unions and such. So question, so you guys are in currently in bargaining. Can you for collective bargaining? So for anybody who doesn't know like how that process works, can you kind of tell us like when was your contract up and did you start the bargaining? Can you tell people kind of what that process looks like and kind of how it's going for you right now?
Yeah, so we started bargaining in March, and so we've been at this for quite a while. Our contract actually expired June 30th, And we're still negotiating. However, right now we have almost a full month without any negotiations because the administration says they're just not available. So I guess you could say it's stalled, to say the very least. But we're going to be bargaining through December 19th. Because we're part of the public sector in Oregon, we've got 150 days of bargaining at the table before the next steps come. And so that will be through December 19th. And then after that, we think most likely we'll be going to mediation.
I got a few questions, but real quick. So LCCEA is so you guys you bargain under not under the NLRB, right? You bargain under the is it EPIRB the
Um,
for public sector?
yeah, so we bargain under the PECBA, Oregon's
Yep.
Public Employees Collective Bargaining Act. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And so, well, with the stuff that's happening with the NLRB right now, it's probably a good thing because I know that when we're dealing with like our Teamsters that are on strike with Bigfoot and stuff, it's like I don't know if they're ever going to get their ULPs and things like that like actually heard anytime soon. So,
Yeah.
that's good. Um, how is the bargaining? How do you feel bargaining is going? Or actually, even more than that, how do you feel? You talked about bargaining with the administration. Can you clarify? This is a good one. Can you clarify when you talk about the administration, who it is you're bargaining with? Because you have the board of directors and you have the administration. So who is the boss in this situation that you're
Yeah.
bargaining with?
Okay, so that is a great question. So, who we're bargaining at the table with is actually an outside attorney who was hired by the college, who's not even from this area, and who I understand is actually bargaining a lot of other contracts throughout the state, and another one locally here in Eugene. Um,
Is it Darkwing Duck?
it's Chris Duckworth.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
yep.
Yes.
I've seen him at the OSCA bargainings.
Uh-huh. Yes. So that's who we're bargaining at the table with. And then the rest of the people are administrators, high-ranking administrators for the college. And they're supposed to be representing the Board of Education. And the Board of Education, they are publicly elected by the people of Lane County to be the governing body for LCC.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they should be, so it sounds to me, and the way I'm thinking it, they should be taking their direction from the board of directors. Is that is that what you guys have seen happening? Or because my understanding is that's not only with you guys, but I think 4J is having the same problem where they don't really the bargaining team seems to be more taking their direction from the administrator of the college or the and such as opposed to the directors. Is that what you guys are seeing, or am I wrong?
Well, that's definitely what it seems like. I mean, that's what it looks like to us because, first of all, they have prohibited the board members from attending bargaining. They actually argued to put that into the ground rules. So the board members who are elected by the people, they're not even allowed to go to the bargaining. And we would it just the bargaining proposal that the administration has made is so extreme. It's literally the worst proposal we've ever seen in our 50-year history, and it's the worst proposal we've seen at any other college in the entire history of Oregon community colleges. It's really very similar in a lot of ways to what we see happening at the federal level, the federal administration. And because we have a lot of progressive members of the Board of Education, we just literally don't believe that they are supporting this proposal or that they even know what's actually in there.
So I guess that kind of like I'm surprised. I didn't realize this, but you're saying when you guys bargain the ground rules, which happens when you start the bargaining process each time. So the administration's bargaining team, they pushed, and I guess, and you guys let them. I mean, I probably would have been pretty, that the elected board of directors for the college, the people we elected as citizens to manage the college, are not even allowed to attend that process.
That's
So
right.
what was their reasoning for that? Why what was their, I mean, obviously they had to have a reason besides saying like we want to be nefarious and do whatever we want to do. And so obviously I'm not being unbiased here, but I mean I just can't think of what reasoning did they use for that.
Well, they just really said that they're going to take care of all of the communications on their side. And they took a really hard line, even on the ground rules. It took us 15 hours of bargaining to get agreement on the ground rules. And usually it would take us 15 minutes or 1 hour. Like that's how different this whole bargain has been.
Is so I'm curious how that compares to the last time you bargained your contract. I mean, was that stipulation last time you bargained your contract?
No, we've never had any stipulation like that before. In fact, we've never had an outside attorney bargaining across the table from us in the past. So this is just really different in every way. The process, the substance, um, all of it.
Interesting, interesting. Um, no, yeah, that sounds interesting. And I'm curious, like, was there any reaction from, did you guys engage with or get any reaction from the school board members in basically them even as being elect? I mean, if I was on the school board and I found out that the administration bargained to have us locked out and not allow me to sit in on a bargaining process that I have to sign off on or that I'm responsible for, I'd be pretty upset about that. Did you guys has there been any feedback from the school board or from the board of directors on that?
They haven't said anything publicly specifically about that, but quite frankly, they are having their own crisis of democracy at the Board of Education because essentially they are literally having all of their authority stripped away by the LCC administration that's seeking to block their ability to put items on their own agenda for their meetings that's taking away their authority to make basic decisions and vote on things that they always vote on, like program cuts and service cuts. And they're being basically they're losing their voice, and that's why we're calling it a crisis of democracy.
When you say the administration, who are you talking about? Who's the administration?
Yeah, so this is primarily the LCC president who is technically the only employee of the Board of Education. So the president reports to the board. However, when the board members are trying to get agenda items on their own agenda, the LCC president is blocking those items.
The LCC president is not an elected official, right?
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
so wow. So you have so who's the president? Who's the LCC president? Who is the president?
So her name is Stephanie Bulger, and she's been at LCC for about 3 years.
So she wasn't president when you bargained your last contract.
That's right. Yeah, this is our first time we're bargaining since she has been president.
And so she's been there 3 years. What's her background? Where does she come from? I mean, is she, what did she do before she was the president of Lane Community College? You
Before
guys know?
LCC, she worked at San Diego Community College District in a district office, some kind of district office position. And then before that, I think she was working at a community college in Detroit doing management of online learning and also worked for a textbook company at some point in the past.
Okay, so she's like, so she isn't like, wasn't like head of the Freedom Foundation or some crazy stuff like that. So she's got a background in community college work and stuff, which is good, I suppose. But so what do you guys attribute to, like, I mean, it sounds like a really stark contrast then to, I mean, how did you to what you had before? How did you get along with the previous president as opposed to, and how did the board get along in your guys' opinion with the previous president compared to this one?
Well, things were much more calm in the past, frankly. Under the current administration, the current president, we've had multiple unfair labor practices. We hadn't had any ULP hearing for more than 20 years, and we had multiple charges that were confirmed by the Employment Relations Board, including surveillance of union emails by the current LCC administration. So it's really very completely different from previous presidents. Over the years, things have not always been, exactly peaceful all the time, but we've never seen anything like this before, especially with the kinds of attacks we're seeing on our contract, and also I would say speech suppression on campus.
How is there, I mean, obviously you guys are a faculty union, but is there, I'm actually a registered and a student at Lane Community College. I took off the summer and I didn't register for the fall class because I got busy. So I'm probably going to register for the winter class. I've been taking the automotive mechanics classes there, mostly just because I want to be able to fix my truck when it breaks down.
Yeah.
But for the students there, I mean, how is there? Are the students active in like having issues with the administration or anything like that? Is there anything going on with students at the university that I mean, it sounds like if they're going after workers and stuff, how's that affecting the student population?
I think some of the student identity groups, like the Native American Student Association, has had some impacts from the current LCC administration. Like one of the things that happened was that pretty much as soon as the current president arrived, she dismantled the DEI office. And that was a year before Trump was elected. And so the student identity groups have been really feeling a lot of challenges. And a lot of the things that the administration is actually proposing in bargaining would negatively impact students. Like, for example, they want to be able to increase class sizes by 50%. And another thing that happened is that LCC has a student health clinic, and there was a bill in the state legislature to expand reproductive health care at all of the college and university campuses. And it would have required the campus health clinics to offer Plan B for all students in a vending machine at the health clinics. And as soon as that bill got a hearing, immediately the LCC president determined that the health clinic at LCC should be closed. And then through efforts of a rally with students and classified and faculty, as well as the legislators who were calling the Board of Ed, the campus health clinic was preserved. But that's another thing that they are currently proposing to eliminate from our contract is the protection that we have for students to go to the health clinic that's in our faculty contract.
But how does that work? You guys as faculty have something in your contract that protects students?
We do, yes. And we're actually trying to get more in our contract to protect students. We did work with a lot of student groups before we developed our bargaining proposals and held forums and listening sessions to really hear what are the student needs. And then we included those in all of our bargaining surveys. And then 99% of the faculty voted to support all of the goals that include things like increasing mental health clinicians and counselors and advisors for students, because those are areas where there's not enough support for the students on campus.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, sounds kind of like more what I've heard in labor circles of the bargaining for the common good, meaning unions bargaining not just for what benefits them, but what benefits, the community or the people that they serve. I know a lot of nurses unions do that, caregiver unions, and things like that, which is awesome. Um, so what is your guys' response been to what apparently is like, this crisis of democracy as you guys are painting it, which it kind of sounds that way at the college. Like, what is your guys' like response or strategy been to kind of combat that?
Organizing. I mean, everything we're
Yep.
doing is organizing pretty much everyone all the time. We're doing internal organizing, building all of our internal structures, doing external, working with community groups, trying to advocate with legislators and other local electeds to raise awareness about what's actually going on. Right now, we're doing a petition to restore democracy at the LCC board, and just building more and more member power through rallies and all of these kinds of organizing activities. Because we do think it's like really extreme what they're trying to do. Like, for example, one of the things that the administration is proposing is they want to remove the protections that part-time faculty have that protect against being removed from their jobs for exercising their inherent rights. And their inherent rights are non-discrimination, free expression, the ability to participate in civic life, free from institutional censorship, academic freedom, like literally free speech, these constitutional rights, and part-time faculty would not have those protections, and could be removed from their jobs for exercising those rights under the administration's proposal.
Yeah, that's always interesting because I mean the the free speech issue, especially in our colleges and our in our schools, has been like it didn't just happen, in 2020 when Trump got elected. Uh, you know, and the interesting thing about that is like I tend to be more right to center on a lot of issues. I'm a registered Republican, but I'm definitely a pro labor, pro union, individual. And you've got people on the right who have screamed about like having their right to free speech infringed upon, and then their guy gets in and now all of a sudden it's shifted the other way, and it's before it was the left saying, well, these people shouldn't be able to say this or that because it's disinformation or bad, whatever, and now you got Trump in, and it's sort of it's flipped. And the reality is it's like regardless of what side you're on or what you believe, I mean, we should all be standing up for people's right to engage in their First Amendment rights to free speech, even if you disagree with it. So yeah, that's concerning. So, and is that coming from? I mean, obviously, you have Duckworth. What's his name again? Is that what?
Chris Duckworth. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Duckworth.
Mhm.
He sounds like he should be on a Disney cartoon with Scrooge McDuck and those guys. But I've seen the guy. I've actually watched him in bargaining sessions because I've sit in on bargaining sessions um at 4J, and it's very interesting to watch him because I noticed that he engages very differently with the teachers, who I think he seems to think of as more professional. And when he's engaging with the classified staff, he's just rude. I was shocked. I was like, honestly, if I'd have been on the bargaining team, I'd have wanted to take and go out back with him and like throw hands, but not that I am saying we only condone nonviolent targeted direct action. But it doesn't mean you don't want to like
Mhm.
punch somebody in the eye sometimes. You just don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but along those lines, I mean, he's not with the college. He's a lawyer out of Portland who we recognize, or our network considers to be fairly anti-worker. I mean, that's what we're seeing. I mean, that may
Yeah.
not be, I mean, obviously he has a role to play. He is, when you're bargaining a contract, we understand that the boss has a responsibility to, protect the business or the college or whatever, and make sure that they get the best deal they can, and the union wants to get the best deal they can. But um I don't see why. What I've never understood is like that should not be something that you like has to be hidden. When we find, most of the time we find that transparent bargaining, it's usually the management, the bosses, that don't want things transparent because they don't want the community to know that they're making unreasonable requests, or that they're treating their workers with disrespect, or that they're not following the law. And and that's kind of what I've seen. My take on watching, Mr. Duckworth bargain his contracts with OSCA and the Eugene Education ESA, when I've gone to their bargainings. Are your bargainings open to the public? Can the public come in?
They're not open to the public. They're only open to members and management, and we fought really hard to get them open further, but we were just not able to have them be open to the public. But I did go to one of the OSEA bargaining sessions, and yeah, I definitely saw what you're talking about.
Yep.
Just in terms of, it seemed like Duckworth was being really rude to the bus drivers in particular.
Yeah. I mean, it shows me. I mean, it just seems to me it's a lack of respect for like regular working class people. Not just him, but I mean, the reality is if the president at Lane Community College and the administration at 4J, if they're allowing that type of disrespect to be done in their name, I mean, it shows that they probably have the same disregard or disrespect. I mean, that's my assumption, is going to be that they don't respect their workers either. And I mean, it sounds to me like, yeah, there's obviously a real problem there. You brought up a petition letter. What was the petition letter again? And
Yeah, so we're doing a petition to restore democracy at the LCC Board of Education to help support the board members who are trying to get their rights back to vote, to set their own agendas. We've had board members who've stated, and now now their statements are public, part of the public record, that they felt disrespected by the college president, and that they warned the president not to hold meetings without giving public notice, and said they were concerned about open meetings law. And the president went ahead and held the meetings anyway about budget cuts in August, and no one in the public knew. So there's a lot of tension happening there, and we're really trying to get the word out to the public so that people can, so that we can all rely on the publicly elected officials who the people voted for.
is that letter? Is there an electronic sign on for that letter?
Yes,
Or
yeah, there is.
send me the link, and I'll put it in on the YouTube channel. I'll put it in on our website. I'll put the link in down in there, so that in the description, so people can link to it if they if it if the three people that watch this want to do it. Hopefully
Sure.
more will.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks. I will
but
definitely.
they'll be like, oh, it's Lonnie. Yeah, forgive him. No, hopefully. Um, so I guess I'm kind of curious about you say that like they're kind of, that the president is just sort of, it sounds like sort of steamrolling the board. Is that legal? I mean, I mean, I'm assuming that there's bylaws or a constitution or something like that in place. Is this a problem with the structure of the board at Lane Community College, or is it an issue of the president simply not following the rules?
Well, it's definitely the president not following the rules. They have policies, but there's also Oregon revised statutes. There are state laws that establish the authority and the powers of community college boards. There are 17 community colleges. Each one has its own independent board, and there's no other body that's above the board of each board of education for all the community colleges. So yeah, it is just really a problem of the president not following the rules and not respecting the authority of the public officials who are there elected as the governing body.
Is there any kind of I mean, because obviously these colleges are public institutions, and if they are governed by the Oregon Revised Statutes, the or ORS, is there any body or entity within the state structure that citizens or the union can file a complaint with to have the president looked into for violating these rules or violating these laws?
That's a great question. I know that based on information that has now been released publicly, at least one board member filed a complaint with the Oregon Governmental Ethics Commission. And it's my understanding there's a complaint with the accreditors as well regarding a sudden program closure that basically the administration closed down for this year the licensed practical nurse program
Yeah.
and didn't have the board vote on it, didn't have any public meetings, and just did that and then announced it to the board after it was already done.
I was curious about that because I had heard about that, and I remember last year when I was taking classes, I think it was when I was taking the automotive electronics class, and I remember like some of the kids at the college there talking like about it because it was like a really like popular or demand, like there was a lot of demand for that class. And so I'm surprised, like of all the classes that you decide to not do, why, like that would be one I would think that would be extremely popular and pull a lot of money in for the college, a lot of students in. So I'm curious what their reasoning was for canceling it.
Yeah, we don't really know the reasons why they did it. It is a program with really high demand. There were 37 applicants for only 16 slots. And, students can get a really good living wage job after 1 year
Yes.
in that program. And, they just spent a whole year on prerequisites in order to even be eligible to apply. And then suddenly they had nowhere to turn. There's no other program in the area. So it had a really negative impact on the students who applied.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's something that it wouldn't hurt for, I mean, obviously students, but the community to kind of push back on and say like, hey, I mean, one of the things we expect, we elect the board of directors, and if the board of directors are not doing a good job, then we vote them out. Simple as that. But if the board of directors is not the ones making these decisions and it is the president of the university, then at that point, I think you have to start looking at like maybe that person needs to find another job, right?
It
Uh,
might be time.
yeah, it might be. So you guys have an event coming up on the 5th. Can you give us a little heads up on that?
Yes, so we're having a big rally on the 5th, and it's really centered around these two things, the crisis of democracy, trying to support the board members and getting their authority back and actually taking back their role as the governing body, and supporting our bargaining campaign And so that's going to be on the 5th around 4:30. And then at 6 o'clock, there's the board meeting where we'll have the rally and then march to the boardroom and have a lot of speakers talking about these issues during public comment time directly to the Board of Education.
Now, for the public comment, is that how do they work their public comment there? Is it like anyone from the community can come, or is it just students and like the union members? Do you have to sign up the day before? How does that work?
Anyone can come and speak, and you can sign up the day before, or if you're doing it online, you can sign up the day before. But if you're going in person, then you sign up right there. There's a sign up sheet before the meeting, and they do allow students to speak first. So anyone who is a student gets put at the top of the list, and then everyone else gets to speak. And usually it's 3 minutes, but when there are a lot of speakers, it usually gets cut to 2 minutes.
Do you guys? I've been to your website, which is it's LCCEA.org, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And you guys seem to have like, I mean, I like it because you put at the very front page, you put like your letters from your president about all these issues. And so if people want to go to that, they can get a lot more in like technical info. Like I'll be honest, I was reading through and I was like, I got about halfway through the second big thing and was like,
Okay.
I need to go eat some pizza. That's
Yeah.
that's just because I'm an old sailor and I get easily distracted. Um, but no, a good website to go to, a lot of good info there. And no, yeah, I know that one thing I'm encouraging people to try to do, and you guys have done it, is use the calendar that we have. Simply because there's a couple other events that day and
Yes.
and for other organizations, and of course they got with us and were like, oh, we didn't know that they were doing this. So they're
Yeah.
encouraging people to go to yours, but what I told them was like, that's why you look at the calendar.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, so we're not doubling up. It's like, I mean, there's only so many days in a month, and it's good to be, as organizers, it's good for us to try to be organized. But
Yes. Mhm.
how is the engagement with your union members been, especially on the external organ? I saw a bunch of you guys handing out flyers at the No Kings rally.
Yeah, so we've just had this huge growth in people who are involved. We have about 500 faculty members, and about 200 are full-time faculty, and about 300 are part-time faculty. And part-time faculty are, juggling multiple jobs and have, they're basically contingent workers with term-by-term employment. And so they're kind of a category that we're really fighting for to get pay parity and more stability and job security. And then, within our full-time faculty, maintaining job security and things like that. But we've had just a massive growth in faculty who are involved in all of our organizing activities. So we have well over 100 faculty who are now in union roles or on union committees. So that's really, really great. And we just did this big voting campaign where we asked everyone to vote on the administration proposal, and 370 people voted, and the vote was 99% no for the administration proposal.
Nice, nice. Cool. I mean, that covers a lot of the stuff I think with the bargaining and what's going on. Is there anything else that you guys want to like get out there to people or let them know about that's going on there?
I think just really that we do think that what's happening at LCC is really similar to what's happening at a lot of other bargains in the public sector in Oregon, where the administrations and the employers are just stringing the unions along for and running out the clock basically, and then pushing to mediation so that they can have all of the negotiations happening behind closed doors. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so that's really something that I think people need to be aware of. And also, if they're coming for job security at LCC, they're probably coming for job security at all of these other education institutions as well.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of brings up, I guess a little moving away from specifically, what's happening at Lane, but in our broader labor movement. I mean, we're seeing unprecedented attacks on unions and labor and workers' rights. And one of the reasons that we're trying to do, like, start doing this, the YouTube channel, and then one of the things that we've been pushing really hard with our network, is trying to build like transformational solidarity as opposed to transactional like organizing. And
Hmm.
so, because you bring up a good point, like a good example is Bigfoot Beverages, right? So the Teamsters working at Bigfoot have been on strike for over a year. They're actually the longest strike I think we have in Lane County was the Morgan Nicolai door strike, which lasted 18 months. And these workers are very fast approaching that 18-month mark. I mean, they could end up being on strike or lockout longer than even that. And what we are seeing as well, not just with the teachers unions or the higher ed, but in the private sector as well. I mean, those are private sector workers
Hmm.
and other places where they're doing exactly like you say. They're not bargaining in good faith and they're basically letting things drag out as far as they can so that they can, one, do things behind closed doors. And honestly, we think I'm curious how you feel because to me it looks like we have the current status, and I don't want to like this isn't just about Trump because these trends were happening before he got elected, reelected. So, but there's this push to undermine our unions and the power of our unions, which has been going on for decades, but it seems like it's escalated in the last, I want to say 10, 15 years. And I'm curious what you think about that and how I know how I think we should combat it, but also like what is your idea on that and LCCEA's like philosophy on that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, this is like there's just a massive effort, and I think it's coming really from big money to undermine and strip away the powers and even the rights to unionize. I mean, like that's what we're seeing with the federal workers, like the postal workers, and what they're going through. And we also saw this in general public sector with the Supreme Court Janus ruling that happened in 2018. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's not another Supreme Court case coming
Right.
that really goes at the right of exclusive representation.
Well, that's what I've been talking with people, and I'm waiting for the court case to be filed that claims that unions are just unconstitutional and that the right to bargain is a violation of the Constitution because unfortunately the my friends on the right, because like I say, I'm a little more right to center, like to talk about activist judges, but let's be honest, the Supreme Court is activist judges. Like if
Yeah.
that case goes before the Supreme Court, they will rule that unions are unconstitutional. And then, like, what do we do? You
Well,
know?
I think we need to, what I think we need to do before that is we need massive solidarity across public and private sector, and not
Yeah.
just like coordinated bargaining and sectoral bargaining and pattern bargaining, but we need massive coordination and we need a general strike.
We have a general strike working group. GPFF, graduate teaching fellows at the university had kind of kicked it off when Sean Fain had started talking about the general strike.
Hmm.
And then they kind of rolled it in under our network because, of course, summer hits, they all have to go places and stuff. And the reality is, like a lot of groups have these are forming their own little general strike groups. What we're hoping is to incorporate, like, give all of these groups and all these organizations a space where we can come together and all kind of work on it together. So they'll be able to do their own stuff. They'll also be able to come in and as a group, as a network within our community, we'll be able to sort of collaborate and work together and coordinate our stuff. Portland Jobs with Justice is helping us and supposedly going to give us a nice little grant to work on that, which will be nice. But I agree. I mean, what Sean Fain is asking for isn't actually a general strike, but what I give him props for is he has normalized the conversation around that as a tactic because we've always had for decades, forever. You always had that radical wobbly IWW guy out there who's every May Day is calling for the general
Yeah.
strike. And now you have very mainstream unions talking about it. And it is an opportunity for us to educate our young working class, you know, uh, brothers and sisters there and educate them on, like, yeah, this is like these fights, we're literally having to fight the same fights they did in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And so
Yeah.
I'm kind of stoked about that. I mean, will we have a real, like, actual, like, old school, you know, general strike like we did in the 1920s? Probably won't be quite there, but we're moving toward it. Like, that's the
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I agree with you completely. I'm curious, like, and this is one thing I'll say too is, like, I would make an ask of you guys at your rally,
Yeah.
which is have a sign up sheet for people that show up there and have them put down the organization or union that they are a part of. And the reason that I say this is I've been getting a lot of pushback recently from some of our small local uh, organizations and groups, community groups that support workers. And the pushback I get is like, hey, Lonnie, we're showing up. Why are we not seeing the unions? A good example is like Starbucks Workers United. They did a picket, and we had like a person from GTFF and like a Teamster there, but like a lot of the other unions are not there. And
Yeah.
so what we'd like is if all of our different unions and all of our organizations have a sign up list, then us being both, a bridge between labor. I mean, we actually sit on the have a non-voting seat on the labor chapter because we're not a union.
Hmm.
We're able to go back to them and be like, hey, we just had this rally at LCCEA at the college, and we're looking at the list, and there are no Teamsters there. There's no ASME members there. There's no,
Yeah.
and because what they do is that what they say is like, oh, we support, but everybody gets so busy and they're doing so much work. And so it's kind of an accountability thing. And I think it's time we start holding ourselves and our brothers and sisters in the movement, like, a little bit accountable and saying, like, look, we know that you're gonna at some point you're gonna need the community to turn out for you. You're gonna need your union brothers and sisters to turn out for you. So just get one, like, that's what they don't realize. If one person, even if it's a staff person from their union, shows up in their union t-shirt, everybody goes gaga. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you came. So
Exactly. Yeah.
that would be my ask is, and I'm making that ask of all of our union, different union locals, all of our nonprofits, is have that sign up sheet so that you, plus you should know who is there supporting you, because they are going to make that ask of you down the road.
Right. Yeah,
At some
exactly.
point, they're all going to go into bargaining, and we're seeing management and the corporations and the billionaires pushing back. we have a lot harder fights coming up. So yeah, if you guys would do that and you slide us that list, and I will bring it to the labor chapter meeting and I will bring it to our network call and be like, hey, where is everybody? Hopefully, though, everybody will just show up. So we'll work on
Yes.
that over the next week, getting a bunch of people to show up at your rally there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll have a sign up sheet and yeah, we are totally want to be there for all of our brothers and sisters and union
Yep.
siblings throughout this whole region.
Yep. Well, and the other thing they have to do is we all have to make sure that we make the ask, because that's another problem we have is they hold a rally, but it's like if you didn't actually get a hold of them and ask them to show up, then they don't even know you're doing the rally.
Yeah.
So, kind of cuts both ways. But no, this was a really good interview. I will post this on our YouTube channel, our new YouTube channel. So you'll be my first interview posted on this new YouTube channel, and I'll figure out how to post it on our website, and I'll send out probably an alert so that everybody on our list will know. And hopefully this will give people really good info. And then hopefully I'll be able to get back with you like further down the road. And if you have any good ideas for other people that I might want to interview, I mean, maybe some of these student groups or something that are affected by what the administration there at the college is doing,
Yeah.
or I might reach out to some of the board members to see if they'll have a conversation about what they're seeing happen with the board and things like that. So
Great. Thank you
excellent.
so much. Just
Thank
really
you so
great to
much.
talk with you and
Yep.
yeah.
Well, one of these times I'll start doing these where we can do them in person and we can just sit around and like drink beer or coffee. And I like to smoke a cigar or,
That'd be fun.
have a donut or something. I don't know. Something cool.
Sounds
Anyway,
great.
all right. Thank you so much. You have a good night.
Okay, thanks. You too.
Yep.
Bye.